G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, let's get right into it. Posted by user LivingPound5524, titled, Would I be the asshole for not telling my husband I'm pregnant until after he's back from his trip? My husband's a stay-at-home dad to our 4-year-old daughter. He is an extremely devoted and loving dad who has barely spent any time away from her, and she is a major daddy's girl. In 2 weeks, he's going to visit his best friend from college for a whole week. He's going to be reuniting with his college friends that he hasn't seen or spent time with altogether since our own wedding. He originally wanted the 3 of us to go, but I convinced him to just go himself because I think being alone would make him enjoy it more so he didn't have to do his childcare. I think our daughter is too young for that big of a trip for people she's only met once, and also I'm planning on taking a week off work and would love to spend one-on-one time with her that we so rarely get. This morning, I learned that I'm pregnant. We've been trying for some time now and really want lots of kids, so I'm over the moon, and I know my husband and daughter will be too. I've not told my husband yet. My first pregnancy, he was a huge prepper, and when I first learned I was pregnant, he went into overdrive with preparing, researching, and taking care of me. He was incredibly helpful and loving, and it was so sweet, but he also really worked himself up and got stressed. I don't think it'll be as bad with this one, but I could still see it being a lot. I honestly don't really want to tell him until after his trip, in 3 weeks, even though it's a huge secret for me to keep. I think he'll potentially be upset, which with him is very, very tame, when he finds out I'd known for 3 weeks, but he would get over it fast. My concern with telling him is I could honestly see it ruining his trip. I can just imagine the constant texts asking me for questions for the millionth time, or sharing his most recent thoughts. I really, really want him to have a chill and fun trip and be able to decompress. And for myself, I want to be able to just focus on having a great time with my girl. But I also don't want to just hide something so hugely important to our family from him, since he obviously deserves to know. I can't really decide. Would I be the asshole if I decided to wait to tell him until after his trip? I don't think so, no. I think you've stated perfectly reasonable explanations as to why you shouldn't tell him right away. 3 weeks just really isn't that long of a time to keep from him, given that you're doing it so that he has a great trip and doesn't drive himself crazy with anxiety and over-prepping like he has previously. I think that's more than fair, and I hope that when the time comes, he also understands where you're coming from and why you did what you did. Seeing as though he's such a wonderful person, I would guess that he does. So I'm gonna go not the asshole and no assholes here. In the comments, Broadside02195 says, Not the asshole. That being said, make sure that you don't tell anyone else until he knows. Try to plan some sort of surprise for him when he gets home. Not a party or anything, just something small to surprise him with the news. Congratulations. Welcome home, honey. The 3 of us are so glad you're back. I wonder if it'll take him a moment, but I think it would be more fun if their daughter and mum plan a surprise together. Make it fun and cute. Not the asshole, but don't tell anyone else until after you tell him. This, you both enjoy your mini vacays. Plan a fun way to reveal the happy news when he returns. Not the asshole. Spare him the trouble and let him enjoy his trip. Well done. Not the asshole. You could make a surprise for when he comes back. My sister-in-law did this for her husband. She waited 2 weeks to tell him on his birthday because they had been trying for 3 years and finally had the money put aside for IVF. She went to the first appointment and found out she was pregnant. Update. So I hadn't planned to give an update so soon, but even though I'd planned on waiting until after my husband's trip, after a few days it became clear to me that I could not wait that long. He definitely knew that something was up with me. I've been getting crazy excited and been chomping at the bit to tell him, and honestly, it just didn't feel good to keep something that big from him for so long. We've been trying for this baby for close to a year now, and it's such happy news, and I decided that it's just not worth it. But I still wanted to give him the surprise I had planned. I asked him to go to the store to grab something really quick, and before he got home, I had my daughter put a shirt that I'd gotten her that had "Only Child" crossed out with "Big Sister" written underneath. When he came through the front door, she sprinted at him, yelling about how her shirt had a secret message for him. He was very taken aback, lol, and it took him a second, but once it clicked, he was beyond excited, as was our very confused daughter once we told her. She started dancing around the house singing about having a baby sister, which she is adamant it will be, and it was just a really good day. He is still going on his trip and has not even been close to as stressed as he was the last time. If anything, he's looking forward to it even more now because he knows it's going to be a last chance to really decompress before things become a whole lot crazier. Thank you so much everyone for all the lovely comments and responses that I got. I really appreciated them all. I showed my husband the post and admitted my original plans, and he got a big kick out of it, lol. But he's very glad that I told him before the trip. Thanks again. In the comments, Pristine Resource says, "Congratulations. Happy you decided to be honest with your husband about something you had both been trying for. It's clear this lifted some weight off his shoulders and will add a spring to his step at work. Wishing you and your family the best." I was definitely team tell him before he leaves because then he can brag to his friends and he'll be probably in a way better mood than he would have been just going for vacation. I hope they have that on video. The big reveal sounded so cute. Our next post is by user Throwaway, titled, "Not comfortable with my husband being friends with female coworker." Throwaway because he knows my username, edited with names so it's easier to read. No update as of yet because I think about decisions before implementing them. Also, we started couples therapy in September, so it hasn't been that long. Here's the full story. Coworker, female 24, we will call her Debbie, started working with my husband, male 35, we'll call him Charlie, 2 years ago. Last September, I met her for the first time at a wedding of 2 of their coworkers. She sat behind us. The girl getting married does not like my husband, but he's on the same shift, and the whole shift was invited to the wedding. The girl getting married had called Charlie a snake to Debbie in casual conversation. They are not friends, and Charlie is generally a good person in my opinion, so that's not a red flag to me. Debbie told Charlie about this, so at this point it's a running inside joke that I was privy to. Back to the wedding, Charlie texts Debbie, snake, and Debbie mouths, stop, all flirty. I did think it was flirty, but thought that may just be her personality. Fast forward to the shift Christmas party last year. We have been hosting shift Christmas parties at our house for 2 years. The whole shift was there, but Debbie brings her twin sister as a +1. One thing about her job is that it's a male-dominated field, but I'm friends with a few of his co-workers' wives. So during the party, all the women were hanging out, except Debbie and her twin sister. She was hanging with the guys. I just assumed it was because she didn't really know most of the women. No big deal, but the next day, she sends Charlie a couple of photos that she had snapped of him without his knowledge. The photos were accompanied by the text, "Why did I take these? Lol." He showed me this and his response, which was pretty PG, but I did remark something along the lines of, "Lol, I think she has a crush on you," and he brushed that off. Fast forward to February, his co-workers are all in their 20s, and they convinced Charlie to get Snapchat. I've never been a fan of Snapchat, and Charlie's never had any form of social media except Reddit. After he gets Snapchat, I noticed he's on the phone a lot more. I'm naturally a nosy person, and I realize that's a flaw of mine, so I notice that he is beginning to talk about Debbie more, and I start questioning who he's chatting with. One thing I notice is that every single time he works overtime, she snaps him and asks if he is working, or she'll ask if he worked it the next day. I tell him she's starting to make me uncomfortable. He brushes that off. March. We go to a new co-worker's house on a Wednesday night for a dinner party. None of the wives that I'm friends with are there. I also have to work on Thursday, and no one else does. Before we go to the party, we discuss leaving at a reasonable time. At 9:45 p.m., I ask him what time we're leaving. He hems and haws around, and I admittedly get frustrated and walk off. He gets mad and decides that he is staying as late as he wants. I keep asking when we are leaving and reminding him that I have to work. I spend the rest of the night crying on the couch in a stranger's house. 4 people come to check on me. Charlie and Debbie never do, and I can see them sitting beside each other outside. Edit, we end up leaving the party at around 1:30 a.m. In May, we go to a hot air balloon festival an hour from our home. He sees on her Snapchat story that Debbie is about 30 minutes away. He tells her where we are and asks her to meet up. I'm not really privy to this conversation, except that I asked him who he was talking to, and it was her. We get in an argument and leave before she arrives, and then he tells me that's what they were talking about. In June, we go to London for vacation, and we're arriving back in the States on our anniversary. I post a super cute slideshow. Debbie sees it. Debbie then snaps Charlie about someone breaking into her car. I express that I think it's weird. In August, Charlie says that he stopped talking to Debbie because it made me upset. He's been distancing from me for a few months though, so I still have a gut feeling that something isn't right. He got a new phone in July, but saved his old phone. I let my intrusive thoughts win, and I look at his old phone. Charlie and Debbie talked on the phone for 45 minutes while I was at work, and they were both off work. I log into Charlie's TikTok account. He sent her a video from Barstool Sports of a girl telling a guy, "I have a crush on you," and the guy reacting really good to it. 2 days before he sent that video, Debbie responds one that says, "When you're trying to go to sleep but all you can think about is wanting him in your bed?" And 2 days after he sent her the crush video, she reposts a video that says, "The most confusing place you can be is knowing you have a connection with someone, but you're not officially together, but you're more than friends." I confront him and tell him that this is an inappropriate relationship. After I confront him, she deletes her videos. He claims he didn't talk to her about it and still maintains that they stopped talking. Last week, I decided to check his Snapchat on his old phone because I'm still having a gut feeling. They've been #1 BFFs on Snapchat for at least 2 weeks. They talk every single day. She sends him a pic of herself in her pajamas. "Now I'm in my PJs, lol," while I'm looking. It wasn't risque, but I've never once sent any of my male friends a selfie of myself, much less in my pajamas. I tell him I'm not comfortable with their friendship and I would like him to stop being friends with her. Side note, we are in couples therapy as well. During a fight, he tells me that he likes having friends. I have no problem with any of his other friends. I ask him why he lied and said that he stopped talking to her. He said because he knew that I didn't like it. I feel like I can no longer trust him, and he basically told me that he would rather be friends with her than be married to me. I've asked all of my friends if I'm overreacting, and all of them have told me to leave him. We've been married for 13 years, and together for a total of 15. So Reddit, am I overreacting? I don't know, OP. You've caught him red-handed so many times, and he's not even really tried to fight it, he's just denied it. He also just told you he would rather break the marriage than stop talking to her. How many more subliminal messages do you need? I don't think you're overreacting, but I think some change needs to happen. He doesn't care. In the comments, Elderpin says, quote, "And he basically told me that he would rather be friends with her than married to me. He's told you what's happening. Why are you not listening? Talk about burying the lead. She could have saved me this whole read. Girl, that man don't want you. Get out of there." Yeah, I feel like there's been several "I'm upset my spouse has a friend at work" posts recently, where the partner seems paranoid but the behavior is pretty mundane. This is giant flashing red sirens with bright-colored fireworks right from the jump. She needs to run. File for divorce. Time to get serious. And he needs to know that you're serious because repeatedly telling him how uncomfortable you are isn't working. Happily married person here. No, you're not overreacting. If I were in your shoes, there would be no coming back from this. He is emotionally cheating. Honestly, OP is severely underreacting. The husband's continued behavior shows that he doesn't care about OP's communicated concerns, and his response was to hide, lie about it, and then gaslight OP when caught. Not to mention that he outright told OP that his relationship with a friend is more important to him than his marriage to OP. OP needs to grow a backbone and stop being a doormat. See how attracted to him she is when he's living in a little one-bedroom apartment after you have to sell the house, and you take half of what it's worth during the divorce. I'm a male, and I approve of this. Your husband is a douche. Let her have him. And the day-to-day reality of their now average relationship sinks in. She's probably just thrilled from the ego boost she feels by pulling a guy away from his marriage. Update. So I gave him an ultimatum. Do not recommend, and he has a lawyer friend. He went to see his friend 2 days later. He decided that it wasn't for him. Our therapist convinced him to block the coworker. We were working on the marriage. I honestly think that we were making progress. We were starting to be able to talk about issues without them getting super heated. He was actually opening up in therapy. And then he was triggered by his avoidant attachment style. He went to Debbie's birthday dinner and I didn't. He stayed at his parents' house and came home the next day. I got a Snapchat request from a new female friend and noticed on my list that Debbie had a top friend in common with me. I don't really use Snapchat except to send videos to a female friend that has an iPhone while I have an Android. So I have 2 best friends on Snapchat, Carrie and Charlie. Debbie has the sunglasses emoji next to her name on my list. It can only mean that Charlie added her back. I asked him to pack a bag and to leave. I'm calling a lawyer ASAP Monday. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. In the comments, damn, OP, that really sucks, but I'm glad you stood up for yourself. What was the reason he decided to go to the party? Also, why did he stay at his parents'? That's really suspicious. How did he react when you asked him to leave? And OP replies, he had told me about the party Wednesday, and we had planned to go together. Friday morning, we had a counseling appointment, and the therapist basically told him that he needed to start feeling his feelings instead of bottling them in. This triggered his avoidant attachment style. He seemed down all day, and I told him that I wasn't going to the party. He told me that he wasn't going to change right before he left, and I told him that we couldn't work without change. That's why he stayed at his parents'. He came back Saturday, and I asked him to leave Saturday night. I just caught up by reading your first post. I'm so sorry, OP. You were definitely not wrong. There is clearly something going on between these two. Speak out loud and clear. Tell your in-laws who live next door, tell your friends and relatives, tell all your co-workers. You tried for months and you tried therapy, but your husband has been having an inappropriate relationship with his co-worker and lying to you about it for months now. At the very least, he is in the throes of an emotional affair with her, but sorry, I suspect much more than that. It's time to get lawyers involved and hold your head up. You tried harder than he deserved. If my husband told me he'd rather be friends with another woman than be married to me, I would be done. Mine did exactly that. We just separated, and I'm starting the divorce process. I could have written this whole OP. It's such a cliche, like they have a playbook to run through. Bullshit, he stayed with his parents. OP should call the in-laws to make sure he's lying. Might be good evidence for the divorce. Coworker was right. Charlie is a snake. Yes, my thought was maybe coworker called him a snake for flirting with others knowing he was married, and Debbie brushes it off, telling Charlie that it wasn't flirting and liked it. Agreed. When I saw that comment, I thought coworker is seeing far more than what the wife is seeing going on at work. Sadly, I went through something very similar to this with my ex-husband. His object of affection was our next-door neighbor. He's a 30-something that is feeling flattered that a 20-something is crushing on him. I had a friend who was a counselor who said an affair is a conspiracy of two. Said it's very easy to think the grass is greener when you don't have to deal with the realities of life. That's why so many affairs that turn into relationships don't last. When that sexy affair partner is suddenly yelling at you to pick up your underwear off the floor, or that handsome man doesn't put the dishes in the dishwasher, the shine wears off. It's sad that this has to come for OP, but at the same time, divorce is really the best option, because OP's husband is unreliable and definitely has the hots for Debbie. I wouldn't be surprised if the husband and Debbie had been having an affair this entire time. They definitely have had an emotional affair for some time, and it likely turned physical before he stopped being interested in sex with OP. I'm curious how long Debbie and Charlie will last post-divorce. The way you get him is often the way you lose him. And that's where I'm going to wrap up this episode for today, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.